What's up, guys? Welcome to another late night review with me, your host, Corey James. I just got back from the theater to see 1917, a World War I epic story, adventure, true to heart, beautifully filmed, great film. I'm going to start off here saying, if you have not seen the film, I would highly recommend going to see it in the theater. I feel like seeing this movie on a big screen with the sound and the environment is definitely worth it. If you don't get to, still try to pick up this movie, check it out before you listen to this review, because we are going to be heavy on the spoilers as per usual. I've been wanting to see this for a really long time. I've been reading so much about this movie and the way it was filmed and watching behind the scenes and everything. So to start off with the filming of it, what captured my attention was the director, Sam Mendes, his vision of a one-shot film. What is a one-shot film? So when you watch an action movie, most of the time it's cut up in quick shot changes and screen changes, and it makes things feel crazy fast-paced when things aren't actually that fast-paced. It's in every action movie ever. Go watch an action movie and actually pay attention to the way they cut it, especially fight scenes. They like to cut things to make people look like they're moving way faster than they are. It's become a norm. Sam Mendes, the director, decided he wanted to try to, some shows and films, like if you watch Daredevil, they were praised in season 1 for their hallway fight scene where it's one continuous shot, which is really hard for an actor to do. You know, they have to memorize lines for like 15-minute segments. All the extras have to know where they need to be, what movements they need to be doing, everything has to be perfect. Or you have to start the whole scene over again because there's nowhere for the camera to cut because they're doing one shot. Most of the time you see it another time is in Daredevil season 3 where he's in the jailbreak scene, and it was praised as like one of the longest continuous shots ever. And it still probably is. This movie wasn't actually shot in one continuous shot. That would be ridiculous. It is a 116-minute movie. That would be probably physically impossible. So he wanted to make it look like it was one continuous shot. And my goodness, he nailed it. This movie from beginning to end, there's one shot in it where the main guy gets knocked out, and the camera goes black and then fades back in. And it didn't feel like it pulled you out any. I just noticed it because I was looking very hard the entire movie to see if there was any places where I could tell where they cut and split it. And I watched a lot of behind the scenes things, as I said, so I did know where his tricks and where he tried to slide in, where he could cut and splice where people wouldn't notice. So of course I was looking for those moments, but overall the whole movie felt like one continuous shot following these two men on their mission. And that in itself made this movie feel completely different than any movie I've ever seen. It was a little awkward feeling because I'm so used to watching fast-paced, quick action movies with lots of cuts and stuff like that. When you're sitting there and there's just a camera moving slowly, no jarring, it's not moving much, it's just following behind these two men. The movie's pacing feels, I'm going to say slow, but probably more realistic, because when you think about the real world and the real life, things aren't moving fast. You walk from one room to the other, you experience that slow walk from one room to the other. Your life doesn't cut from one room to the other, you know what I mean? So the movie felt slower paced. But yeah, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the actual movie. We'll talk about the plot. So the movie was $100 million budget. it made it only made 88 million back in the United States, 63 in Canada. I think it's at up to 155 million worldwide. So I'm glad it did make its money back worldwide. I wish it would have done a little bit better in the States. It deserves it. It is a fantastic picture. It is up for, I think, 7 Oscar nominations right now, which is awesome. It has it has a bunch of Golden Globe awards that it was up for, just a whole bunch of awards, and it deserves praise. It is a great, great movie. It's curious that, like, we don't get a lot of movies set in World War I. Most of the time they're World War II or, Vietnam or something that we've seen a million times. And also, it's usually, if it is, it's usually something well known. Like we always get a D-Day in World War II or something like that we've seen a million times. This story is such a smaller scale in a war that's not really depicted very much on screen, and it's so personal because it's about like not one man but 2 men and their small tiny mission to save 1,600 men, and it felt genuine. It felt real. They helped. They did a good job at making you care about this guy right off the bat. They do not tread water in this movie, man. Like, as soon as it starts, 2 men called into the generals, and they're in the trenches. They're called down to talk to a general. The one dude thinks that he's being called up there for like food rationing, so he asks his best friend to come with him, not knowing what he's about to pull his best friend into. The general informs them that about pretty far away there's another platoon stationed across no man's land who is they think that they have the Germans on the run, and they are about to attack them and feel like they're going to win the war, when in reality this general has, from aerial pictures, has found out that they've been planning this for months, and they're setting this platoon up for basically a slaughter. They're going to kill all the 1,600 of these men. And of course they cut the phone lines. So this dude informs this guy, the lower ranking sergeant, that his brother is obviously in that platoon, of course. So it makes it personal for the guy. So the general knows that this dude's going to do anything and everything possible to get to this message to these guys because his brother's there and he doesn't want his brother to die. The dude does not hesitate, says yes sir, takes the message, rockets out of the bunker, and just from there on out he is fast-paced walking and never stops. And of course his friends trying to slow him down and tell him we need to think about this, that we have to cross no man's land where no one has crossed without dying. The whole way along the way, everyone's trying to stop them and tell them that they're crazy, they can't be doing this, and all he cares about is getting to his brother. This is beautifully shot. It is an awesome period film. The last time I saw a really good period film, I mean, I could say that like The Lighthouse was a good period film, but it was kind of embellished and it didn't feel like a period film, so I'm not going to say that. Probably the last time I saw like a true to form good period film was The Revenant. This felt like it was right out of the same universe, just in a different time, which was amazing. Like I said, beautifully shot. So we follow along these guys. When they make it across no man's land, they're hiking. They find a little barn, and they have to check it out. And it seems abandoned. And they see, as you saw in the clip at the beginning, they see like a dogfight in the sky between 2 of their own and a German soldier. And the German soldier gets shot down. And the main guy, it's his brother that he's trying to save, such a nice, genuine human being. Like, he pulls the German out of the plane and tries to save him. And, his buddy's like, we need to shoot him now. And he refuses. And he says, let's help him. You need to go get water. And huge spoiler here. Blew my mind away. I was not ready for this. As the friend is getting water for him, one of the most, quiet, realistic. Everything in this, all the violence in this movie felt so heavy and so real, and you don't get that in many action movies. Most action movies, people are just shooting or going crazy, and they never seem like there's any consequences, like anyone's gonna actually get shot and killed. This, everything's meticulous because it's real life. These people don't actually want to die. And while this man is helping the German, and he's off screen, you don't see him, you just hear him quietly like saying, like, please don't, what are you doing? And then his friend turns around and the German has a knife in his stomach, and we have a 20-minute amazing performance from, let me look at the actor's name real quick. So yeah, so Dean Charles Chapman as Lance Corporal Tom Blake. He is the one who is trying to save his brother. And he is the one who gets stabbed in the stomach and dies. So yeah, we get a great performance between George McKay, his friend, and Dean Charles, just holding him as he's dying. And he asks him, he says, "Am I dying?" And he says, "Yeah, I think you are." And asks him to write to his mother and gives him a letter for his brother, and just so hard. And I did not expect the main character to perish so quickly in the movie. But like I said, this movie is like heavy set on giving you a realistic take on what happened to these men. So George McKay's character, Lance Corporal William Schofield, promises him that he will make it to his brother and he will save him and he will write his mother. So the rest of the movie is just full on this dude just going through the ringer, man. Holy cow. One particular scene that stands out heavily, beautifully shot, some of the most beautiful like lighting situations I've ever seen, is when Schofield is making his way through a destroyed, ruined city, and all the buildings are burning, and people are shooting like flares or something up in the sky. So like, and it's like middle of the night, so only some parts of the walls are lit up and other parts are pitch black, and he's trying to make his way through here while their Germans are obviously there and stationed, and he's maneuvering, trying to miss them. And he sees, he's getting shot at. He meets a woman that's hidden underground in this little hut, and she has a baby that she found, and he helps her out, and she begs him to stay, and he can't, obviously. And then he starts getting chased by a bunch of Germans, and he leaves his gun, man. Oh, as soon as he left his gun, I was like screaming at the screen. You don't leave your gun behind in war, dude. But anyway, I get it, it was intense. He was being chased, he's getting shot out, you're not thinking. He jumps off a bridge, floats down a river for a while. But eventually he does make it to where he needs to be. Benedict Cumberbatch is the general that he needs to talk to. Great seeing him. The whole cast of this movie, like, they pulled out some of like the top-notch British actors. I mean, we just can ramble them off here. Like George McKay, Dean Charles Chapman, Mark Strong, Andrew Scott, Richard Madden, Colin Firth, Benedict Cumberbatch, Daniel Mays, Adrian Scarborough, Jamie Parker, Michael Gibson. So many good ones. Like, they pulled out the big guns. And even if they were like the bigger ones, Benedict Cumberbatch and like Colin Firth, they were only on screen for like maybe 3 minutes tops. So like, they didn't heavily say, "Oh, here's a big AAA actor, we're gonna focus on him." No, he was a side character. But it was fantastic. So he convinces the general to pull back the attack and saves all the men, and then finally finds Corporal Thomas Blake's brother, and that's just a heavy scene. He thanks him, and then he sits down on a hill with the sun setting beside a tree, and he pulls out his pictures, and we learn for the first time anything about this man. He pulls out 2 pictures of his wife and his 2 daughters, and the back of the picture with his wife says, "Come back to me." And then the movie ends, and it's so heavy. And it doesn't end there. It brings up thank you, a credit to where did I just see this? I can't remember his name, and I feel really bad if I don't get his name here. Mendes, I know is his last name. Filming, writing. Okay, so in August 2019, Mendes stated, "It's the story of a messenger who has a message to carry, and that's all I can say. It's lodged with me as a child. This story, or this fragment, and obviously I enlarged it significantly, but it has that at its core." In Time magazine in 2020, Mendes stated that the writing involved some risk-taking. "I took a calculated gamble, and I'm pleased I did because of the energy you get from driving forward in the narrative in a war that was fundamentally about paralysis and stasis. The ideas for a script with Mendes, which Mendes wrote with Christy Wilson Cames, came from the story that Mendes' grandfather, Alfred Mendes, a native of Trinidad who was a messenger for the British on the Western Front, had told him." So it says, it says at the end, thank you to his grandfather, Alfred Mendes. And like, that's so heavy that this is almost like a true account from, I don't want to say a nobody, because obviously he wasn't a nobody. No one that went into the war and fought for us is a nobody, but someone that that wouldn't be in the spotlight otherwise. Just fantastic. Overall, the movie was really great. Like I said, I had a weird feeling the whole time. There's a lot of slow, long parts between the intense, dramatic action. But when you think about it afterward, you're just like, it's realistic. You're not going to be full on running off buildings, jumping, blowing up, people shooting at you, because you'd be dead. This is real men tactically trying to survive and thinking about what they're doing and staying low and trying to trying to advert from confrontation. So it was a really different film, and I liked it a lot. I really did. And if you get a chance to see it, go see it. I mean, I just ruined most of it for you, so hopefully you watched it before you listened to this. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening to me ramble about 1917 on this late night review. Please head over to the channel. If you're on the channel already, hit the like and the subscribe button for videos every Saturday. As always, you can go over to Facebook, like it on there, Instagram for my drawings and my artwork. You can go to Bandcamp to hear music. But yeah, have a good night. We'll see you next time. Later, guys.